Yes, well, not everybody's British. Is what I'm getting at. I didn't want to conflate all the Europeans that end up over here as exclusively British. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. My name's Rodrigo. This is my sidekick Smokey, the smoke detector, and we're gonna play some Pokemon today. Um, we're playing exclusively with. I mean, we tried. Yes, I know British people did try to make sure that everybody was British, and it only worked in some places. Um, we're gonna be playing Pokemon. We're gonna be using only poison types, and of course our avatar in this world, Petunia, has just defeated not just every gym, but also the quarterfinals and the semifinals. So now she is moving on to face the champion. However, it appears like the champion has didn't show up for dinner. So now everybody's worried, especially Petunia, who was gonna order some cheddar biscuits, and now worries that those cheddar biscuits are in fact not coming at all. Are we gonna have to fight? I should probably think about what Pokemon I have on me. Oof. Let's give Ribatina a rest. Put in Screech Power and let's give Peppers a rest and put in Rude. I'll call that good for now. Yeah, we've just passed all of the gym part of this game, and now we finally have arrived at the story. So we'll see how that goes. Man, why am I here for this? I'm totally exhausted from that battle with you, Petunia. We decided that Team Yell will cheer you on, Petunia. Let's help out together. Ah, it's a little more Pico. What a beautiful display of sibling love. However, it's entirely unnecessary. Oleana. Chairman Rose is with the champion in a very important meeting. There is no way I will let anyone interfere. Wow. This lady is proactive. I don't think anybody knew that we were heading over there. After all, only authorized personnel with the proper key can ride the monorail to Rose Tower. That means as long as Chairman Rose is in the tower, no one can disturb him. I have hand selected a member of the league staff and given them a key. Chairman Rose does enjoy these kind of menial games after all. Do you think you can tell the difference between normal league staff and the one I chose? Do you think you can find me? Oh no. This isn't good, but I got this one. Petunia, Team Yell's Yellin will handle this. Hop. No, this is brilliant. I'll search around for the front. I'll search around the front of the stadium. For now, we should try to head to the plaza together, right? Yes. Alright, let's all work together and head for Rose Tower. Let's find Oleana's league staff member. That bad one was wearing those lame shades, right? Oh, were his shades different? Hey, Petunia, this bloke's awful shifty, but I can't get him to turn around. Say something surprising so that he'll have no choice but to look this way. We already have the key, you know. What? Blast, I turned around. And I can't escape? In that case, time for a Pokemon battle. Yeah, let's do it. Macrocosmos Eric. Little Steel Meowth. Um... Oh, here we go. Go, Rude. My cheers will really get you going. Oh, snap. It's a bug and um, steel type, so this won't be super effective anymore, I think, but it'll still be decent. Horseman Mind says, I'm curious about this battle background. Why didn't they just do the city? Yeah, so we've talked about this before, right? And um, Pokemon Sword and Shield is really undercooked, right? It's basically a lot of the time feels like not a finished game, and one of the ways in which it feels like not a finished game are these like amorphous backgrounds, and you're like, well, why wouldn't they just do the city? Even if they did the city, they have to redo it in some way, right? They have to make a background. Even if they just take a bunch of the city assets and rearrange them, somebody has to sit down and do it. Somebody has to do that. They can't just put it in the city because it's not going to quite work out. The Pokemon need to be a certain distance from each other. Powers need to be able to like move in and out of the ground and whatever, right? They can't just take the same city model and just put the battles there. It's a different mode, so some work has to be done. The problem is that they didn't do it, right? I don't know if you remember much earlier on in the run, we have a Team Yell fight in a hotel, and it's a very similar background, except maybe it's like a yellower or more orange version of it. But yeah, it's kind of disheartening a lot of the time to see this like nothing background, um, because it's like, oh yeah, they didn't get around to it. You know, they just didn't have the time to finish it. And the game's been around for a long time now. No, I'm not gonna teach it Explosion. The game's been around for a long time now, and it was never fixed. You know, never added back. This is just how it is. So yeah, that's kind of the deal. Horsepoint Mind says, yeah, that makes sense. It is super jarring compared to some of the outdoor environments. Yeah, the outdoor environments look fine. It's, if you compare it to some other Pokemon games environments, it's really sad because some other Pokemon games will have like interactive backgrounds to the point where like if you do a particular move, like you can knock rocks or like trees over and stuff. So yeah, the fact that this doesn't even have like a static picture, it's just like a featureless void. It's a little annoying. What? Well, that's okay. Excuse me. I did not get a lot of sleep last night, so you guys might get a couple yawns here. Is this Grunt just running all the way around? Let's see what the map says. Horsepoint Mine says, "Oh wow, I didn't know some games had changing backgrounds. That's neat." Yeah, yeah. Some games have. It's like every Pokemon game is different, and part of the part of the issue is that it just depends on how much time they have, and the other thing is that like because the games are like changing consoles and stuff like that, they'll reuse a lot of assets, but they can't reuse all the assets. Some stuff has to be made anew. And so the writers are just like, okay, well then this happens and this happens, and then it's up to the art team and programmers and all that stuff to basically make it work. And a lot of times they just don't get around to it. Um, I don't know where I'm supposed to be looking for this guy. Excuse me, did you see a guy in sunglasses walk by here? Maybe he's still outside. He's probably gonna be staring. What's happened? Oh, Sakura, thank you for your subscription. I really appreciate it. I'm looking for a guy, and he's probably gonna be staring at a wall like a weirdo. Oh, there he is. Oh, never mind. That's the other one. That's the wrong one. See what this guy says. So there are good league staff members, and then there's this bad league staff member. I think they're all kind of stupid and bad. Excuse me. Can't help it. I didn't get a lot of sleep because I had to. My dog had some uh, like he had to have some teeth pulled out. So you know they had to put him under to do it, and he is recovering. So a black. Oh man, is this another black sludge? Do I have more than one, or is this my first black sludge? Yeah. If there is a team that wants a black sludge, it is this one. So anyway, I was worried about him. Didn't get a lot of sleep last night. Just kind of had to keep my ear open to see if he was doing okay. So also I ended up getting up way early because he was up early. So didn't get a lot of chance to snooze it up. What am I looking for? I'm in the wrong pocket. Here we go. Who should I give it to? Let's give it to Screech Power. Yep. Hugs for Dogo. Yeah, he'll be okay. He just needs to rest. Also, as always, you know, he's a little old man, so he gets cold. So we keep the heat turned up in here because this is where he usually sleeps. And so now I'm sitting here like freaking sweating, like ugh. I turned the heat down already, but it takes a long time for it to cool down. Oh, that dog. Yeah, I think I've wandered too far, maybe. I don't know where that guy's supposed to be. I guess I can go check by the stadium, but my guess is he's actually back where I used to be. Jump the fence. There's no jump button. Yeah, let's not surprise trade any of my guys. Okay, back to the... Oh, here's Hop. Right, Hop's looking over here. So I need to go where nobody is looking. Oh, duh. There he is. Or did you just talk to everyone? I kind of did talk to everyone I met. So he's calling me out on that one, and he's right. Horsepawn Mine says, not so much in games like this, but I get weirdly anxious when games don't have a jump button. Legends Arceus really weirded me out because I had to roll everywhere. Yep. Yeah, well, at least that roll is sort of a little jump, right? So if you do need to clear some small obstruction, you can jump. And, you know, the Pokemon, the riding Pokemon they can run or they can jump. Hmm. Starting to think that these guys have a lot of steel types. Feel that flow. Yeah, let's go. Earth power. Let's Excadrill. Let's keep current Pokemon. I don't think that ground resists ground, so should be okay here. Yeah. Get out of here. Excadrill. As I even switched up my Pokemon while I was running. Ah. They say hide a tree in a forest, so I thought I could hide myself in the crowd. Stop running, dude. That's cute. I should get out somebody who's good against steel types. 58, 56. Now there's such high level. Oh, I know. I mean, this guy's pretty high level too. Yeah. Let's move Root to the front. Ugh, man. Okay. You're way too observant, but I'll win this time and make my getaway. Earth power! Four times. Woo! You're the best, Marnie. This Earth power should do it. See what this hooligan has to say for himself. Oh. There are more Pokemon. Let's... Yep. Let me switch here. Actually, I'll keep going. It is fine. Oh, Groot's already in a battle. Okay. I'm like, what is it waiting for? I forgot that, like, you know, a Nintendo cartridge isn't gonna have, like, big loading time, so I was like, okay, I'm sure it's thinking. I'm just like, dude. Like, waiting for some tip to scroll across the screen. This game doesn't have big loading times. Thank you, game. Alright, didn't work, and battles didn't work. Only thing to do now is run. I'm gonna run him down on my bike. Seems like you got me cornered. But I'm not going to give up. An earful from Miss Oleana is way worse than anything you can do. Good luck catching me on the monorail. Go find Hop. We'll corner that league staff member at the station together. I like that he tells you where he's going. Ugh, sorry, guys. Peter says, you did a cracking job of cornering that bad league staff member, Petunia. Let me sing you a song fitting for your rockin' deeds. The only thing a humble singer can do is sing a humble song. Maybe I can't cheer someone on just with the tunes I play. Oh, he's singing that. Maybe my songs don't make anyone happy. Maybe I can't help. But still, the only thing I can do is sing my humble song. Pierce! Go, Pierce! Hey, is that Pierce? Why is he doing a street performance? I think you mean a station performance. That is like, oh, I think you mean station performance because we're not out in the street, okay? So what's happening? We got the key piers. We can take the monorail to Rose Tower now. Petunia, hop. Now's your chance. Get out of here. Do 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 do. Never be station performance guy. I have heard some like absolutely kick butt performances in like subway stations and like L stations in Chicago. So, I mean, it's it's just as good of a thing to be performing at a station. But yes, you don't want to be the guy who corrects people and tells them, "Oh, actually, it's a station performance." Hop says, "Just how tall do you think it is? I can't even see the top up there in the clouds." Well, guys, we haven't even finished the game, and we made it to the post game. Marnie says, "What should we do?" Team Yellow is going to have their hands full holding up those bad league staff members. They won't be catching up anytime soon. Yeah, Petunia, what should we do? Crush them. Let's go ahead and crush them. Good thinking. Let's go collect Lee and get out of here. Without him, there's no champion for you to challenge in the Champion Cup. I mean, he's also your brother, and presumably you care about him, but yeah, also that. Petunia, you clear the way to Rose Tower. Now all you gotta do is charge on ahead. An employee is an employee, I guess. Seems that exec lady hid the monorail key to try and impress the chairman. Chairman Rose has been keeping the champion holed up inside. Wonder what he's plotting. Let's see. Times like this, when tension and passion run high, remind me of Spikemuth in the old days. Back before all the mills closed, I guess. Or the mines or whatever. Some right wild concerts we had back then, but no encores. Wait, you're still here? You better get going. I'll send some support your way with a yell. Gotta stick around to make sure my bro doesn't do anything too crazy, right? Come back if you need anything. Let's go, Petunia. Horseman Mine says, "Oh yeah, definitely performance stations. I saw an amazing didgeridoo player in Grand Central Station once. It was wild. Yeah, I've seen people that can drum the heck out of a bucket in in train stations. Is anybody gonna heal my Pokemon? Like, come back if you need anything, but she doesn't have anything to do or offer. Okay. I get the feeling that before any more fights, they are gonna heal my Pokemon, but I don't want to take that risk. So I'll just go ahead and use a potion. How much does a lemonade heal? 30 hit points, 70 hit points. Let's use the lemonade first. That's probably good enough. All right. Saving compulsively. And let's go in. Horsepawn Mind says, I once ran an RPG villain. Oh. What? It's huge in here. What in the world is this place meant to be? Okay. I once ran an RPG villain group whose symbol was two interconnected hexagons, and I was shook when I got to this part of the game. Oh, yeah. Sure. Senja W says, a lot of time A didgeridoo should be didgeridoo. Am I right? Eh? Eh? Well, we're gonna let it slide this time, Saint JW. Yeah, those two hexagons are a good symbol because they make a hexagon. Um, there is at least there's a I want to say it's an elevator company whose symbol is like, so yeah, imagine like three circles and then like a Y inside, right? So imagine a Y with a circle at each one of the points, right? It's like I saw it and I'm like, I feel like if I get into that elevator, I'm going to get like transported to somebody's like overship and then put into storage, right? Because it looks like Brainiac symbol. Um, the lesson here is, there's only so many things that you can do with geometric shapes and with symbols that are like clean and interesting looking. So eventually you're gonna double up on something. So hey, I mean, there are worst. Again, this game, like non-combat stuff in this game, right? All of the locations, all of the banners, all of the iconography is really well designed and really intelligently kind of put together. So you can do worse than designing something that's very similar to Pokemon Sword and Shield. Hop says, "Don't know if you knew this already, but I've heard Rose Tower was built on a power spot." Yeah, you know what I'm saying? When we get up to the roof, we have a bit of space. We can Dynamax our Pokemon, which is all well and good, but less certain is whether this lift can get us to the top. Rose Tower has like 100 floors, right? It probably has more than that. You'll be leaving right now, so there's no need to worry about the lift. Intruder alert, intruder alert. All staff are ordered to help remove the intruders from the premises at once. See, if Miss Oleana says so, then it looks like this is the end of the line for you kids. If I get rid of the intruders, I'll probably get a big bonus. There's this running thing that like Rose doesn't pay his employees very well. I think that's true. Durant. Earth power. Crunch. Horsepawn Mind says, I'd say that hexagons are the most villainous of the polygons. Okay. I can see that. Oh, he only had that one thing. Having to give up my pocket money losing means I'm back in the red. I mean, it's classy of the villains to still give me money when I beat them. My dream of finally affording a house of my own. See what I mean? Rose, pay your employees. We need to speak with Chairman Rose. Tell us where he is. Get on the lift. The chairman's at the top of the building. Again, very nice of these guys to be like, well, you did beat me in a Pokemon battle, so now you get to do whatever you want. Let's crack on. Crack on. Rose. Hmm. This is taking ages. What? I don't think we're at the roof yet. Why have we stopped? So you're gym challengers, aren't you? Thank you for taking part in the Galar League's gym challenge. Oh, that's nice. Yet I'm afraid it doesn't give you the right to interfere in our work. We will drive you out to protect the many subsidiary companies housed here in Rose Tower. Behold the glorious high-tech elevators of Rose Tower, able to withstand Pokemon battles. They are constructed by the subsidiary Macrocosmos Construction. I do like those gray shirts, like gray shirts with like red stuff on them. Macrocosmos Jane and Macrocosmos Mateo. Yeah, they're all about steel types. Go Rude. Let's... Oh, I'm out of Earth powers. That's not good. Let's Earth power the Bronzong because I need to get rid of a Psychic type first. Up, it levitates. Well, I just wasted my last Earth power. Diggy 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 diggy. Let's switch. Okay. Extra sensory. Super. Oh yeah, because I'm a poison. Because it's a poison type. Let's water pulse it. Yeah, the good thing about water pulse or water moves is that it's like most things, steel resists most things, but at least water gets through. And this is why I wanted to take out the psychic type first, because it deals a bucket of damage to all of my guys. If I had just allowed Dr. Violet to keep Flamethrower, I wouldn't be having any problems right now. Oh well. Let's switch again. See if this guy keeps using Dig. Although, I don't think I have it. Yeah, I think Dark type moves. I don't think Steel is resistant to Dark types, or to Dark type moves. I mean, why change your strategy, right? Let's bite. We've created an extraordinary lift that's safe even for a Pokemon battle. Nobody can beat Macrocosmos Construction when it comes to our dedication to our work. Horsepawn Mind says, I know we've talked about the problematic implications of the Copperajah line, but boy is Cufant cute. Yeah, I mean, they're cool looking Pokemon. That's fine. It's actually perfectly fine if you like them. It's just, you know, they're weird. It's weird. It makes me feel weird. If I've been defeated, I have little choice but to respectfully retreat. Yet I must ask once more that you please do not interfere with Chairman Rose's work. The elevators in Rose Tower are constructed so that only the floor ascends. But that presents some danger, thus the presence of these walls constructed of light. You can thank Macrocosmos Construction for providing this wonderful technology as well. Thanks, Macrocosmos Technology. Wait, so the folks working in the tower can stop the elevator from the outside at any time? We're just trying to get to the top already. Our teams have been working themselves ragged for us. Let me heal them all up. Oh, good. Hopefully that gives me my moves back, too. I think it does. I think it just, like, resets everything. So, I'll have some earth powers to use again. Rose Tower is almost 1,000 feet tall. You are now about 500 feet above. Oh, the ground. I'm from MC Insurance. Do you have a life insurance policy? You're about to need one. I'll take a picture because it's cute. It's cute to see Petunia and Hop hanging out together in the little battle screen. I think we've talked about it before, but one thing that would be fun to add to sort of like your trainer model is like personalities. Like if you could pick a personality, that way anytime you're in that battle screen, if your character's like goofy, they can be doing something goofy, or if they're like serious or mean or tough or whatever, right? It's like that would be fun. And also maybe the way they throw the Pokeball, that could change too, but you know, it's like I said, in a lot of these we can barely get backgrounds, so Screech. Earth Power. Is Clang floating? We'll check. Nope. Hua, 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 hua. So I was watching some other Pokemon thing, and it was like they were talking about Nidoking, I think, yeah. And they're like, yeah, Nidoking is like, if you look at his Pokedex entry, he's only like 4 feet tall, or like 4.5 feet tall, or something like that. So he's actually like pretty short. The building's well over 500 feet tall. That's all as around 100 Machoke standing on top of each other. That's as tall as around 100 Machoke standing on top of each other. Okay, thank you. Now that I can picture 500 Machoke standing on top of each other, now I can imagine how tall the building is. Unfortunately, insurance doesn't pay out for being defeated in Pokemon battles. Pokemon battle insurance would actually be really strong in this world. Swellow is like 2 feet tall, which is wildly huge to me. Swellow. Which one's Swellow? Oh, right. It's like it's like the evolution of Tailo. How tall is it? Like 2 feet tall with so yeah, that's the thing, is like some of these bird Pokemon you expect to be really small and they're huge. Some of these monster Pokemon you expect to be really big and they're actually small. One thing that I actually really liked about the Galar starters is that they're tiny. Like when you see them like walking around or whatever, they're like this big, right? Whereas like your like Bulbasaurs and Charmanders are like at least baby size, but like the Galar stars are like really really tiny, and it makes them look really cute. So I appreciate that. Let's see. You'll not be meeting the chairman. I've got no fear of heights. I work high in the skies doing my job for the lofty macrocosmos air. You're challenged by Macrocosmos Adeline and Macrocosmos Justin. Oh, snap. Should still be able to Earth Power them to death. Let's start with the Steelix. I don't even remember what Stunfisk... I remember its ability. Like, Stunfisk has this ability that if you activate terrain, basically like electric terrain, Stunfisk becomes that type. But other than that, I don't remember any of its, like, its shtick or what kind of powers it learns or whatever. Hydro Pump. Over Water Pulse. God, like, I just do not like giving up the accuracy. But Hydro Pump is a staple. Well, let's go ahead and take it. Hopefully we won't regret it. Hey, Life's a Pitch, what's up? Just, you know, trying to get to the end of this game. We're still a ways away. Well, maybe not from the... So, spoiler alert, Pokemon games tend to end 2 or 3 times. So you'll finish the game and you'll see credits, and then it's like, hey guys, here's another adventure you can go on, and like immediately after that, there's like another short kind of adventure that you can do, and it's like, well, then the game's not over. Why you run the credits for? But that's just kind of how they do it. Skaboosh. Nobody can beat Macrocosmos Air when it comes to our dedication to our work. You ever get that floaty feeling when a lift is going up? That's an interesting thing to say, like, very angrily. Oh, you ever get that floaty feeling? Like, you're about to get that all day because of this concussion I'm gonna give you. Alright, I need to check on the dog real quick, but I will be right back. Beep boop boop. All right. Sorry about that. Dog's doing fine. Just had to go check on him real quick. Let's see. So we're still, if you're just joining us, we're climbing up the tower to meet Chairman Rose, who kind of seems like maybe kidnapped the Pokemon League champion for Galar, but we don't know. He just kind of didn't show up. He just kind of didn't show up to dinner, and people were like, "Whoa, that's not like Leon to not show up to dinner. Let's storm the tower." So that's what we're doing now, I guess. You must know that in high rises such as this one, the higher up you go, the more important the people you find working there. Chairman Rose is at the top, not just of this tower, but all of Galar. Let's do this. Woo! What does this lady want? Oh, I'm supposed to like walk up. Okay. Um. Oh, I'm still allowed to access my boxes. Let's see. What do I have that? So I have a psychic type. Should be okay. I'm trying to think. I think I went through like all of my TMs to see if I could teach Crud Papers any fairy type moves, and I don't think any of the ones I have uh, that actually deal damage. I don't think he can learn or she can learn. Oh, I didn't put her in pirate. Anyway, we'll just do it this way. I do not remember what actually all happens. I know that at the other end of this is Eternatus, but I don't remember like if there are any battles beforehand or what. Welcome to Chairman Rose's exclusive space, here nearly 1,000 feet above the earth. So, you got through all of the special staff that I had ordered to stop you. I would expect nothing less of the trainers handpicked by Champion Leon himself. But I'm afraid it is now time for you to go home. Okay, thanks. Good night. Because that lady's scary. I will not allow anyone to disturb the great Chairman Rose. Okay. You shall be first, Petunia. Honestly, this is kind of the villain we need for this game, right? If I beat you to pieces, then the champion will have no one to battle and will thus lose heart. In that state, he will listen to anything the chairman says. I think you're putting a little too much into this. Who wore it best, Rodrigo or Oleana? Yeah, whose scowl is best? She has the advantage of being able to hold it indefinitely because as long as I don't click the button. Macrocosmos Oleana, so I'm guessing this is going to be more steel type stuff. Oh, no, it's an ice type. Ice Ghost. Ice beats ground, so I probably need to switch. Oh, and I can Dynamax. Cool. Oleana really follows Lusamine in the tradition of scientist lady with huge blonde hair who has a weird time in the final act. Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, Lusamine has a really weird time in the final act. And this is why you don't hire zealots. I guess. Let's see. Ice, so I don't have anything that's particularly good against ice. So we'll flip over to Sargassum. Oh, how dare you. A burn, does a burn lower both your special attack and attack? I think it does, right? There's a lot of Pokemon. She has I think she has a full team. No, she has 5 Pokemon. So I should probably play this like actually like cautiously. Just lowers attack. Okay, so special attack is not affected. That's good. That actually means that I can probably not worry about healing this burn for a while then. Swoosh. Oh, well, okay. So I was like, oh, yeah. It's like, he's a water type, so he'll resist the ice, but he's also a dragon type, so I guess if she hits me with an ice type move, it's just gonna be even. Avoided the attack. This is why I didn't want to give it Hydro Pump. Alright, we'll try it again. Oof. Not a good start for us. My, how cheeky to do such a thing as to hurt my partner. Alright. Let's see. Now, let's see if we can put him away here. Yeah. Oh, and it still hits. Life's a Pitch says, ooh, there's one of those scientist ladies and the world ends with you too. Yeah, it's an archetype, definitely. Sargassum was hurt by its burn. Salazzle. Yeah, let's switch. We'll switch to Oakley. Oakley should be able to surf it to death. Oh, and got the quick draw in too. Cowabunga! All right, we're back on the saddle here. It was it got kind of uphill there a little bit because we couldn't get a good hit on that Frostlass, but Milotic. Yeah, let me switch Pokemon. Again, so absolutely huge that they tell you ahead of time which Pokemon is coming, right? Just makes everything so much easier. It's like, you know which Pokemon's coming, and you get to do a free switch, so... If you are doing some sort of like hardcore or Nuzlocke or whatever type run, you have to like basically not accept that, right? Otherwise it makes it a little easier. Although I guess it depends how hardcore you're going, then maybe you do need that again. Let's Petal Dance. It's gonna put us in that Petal Dance state for like 3 turns, but I think Milotic's really tough. Never mind. Milotic's not that tough. Doesn't Lusamine use a Milotic too? I don't remember. All I remember... Lusamine's the one from Sun and Moon, right? All I remember about her is that she like, turns into like a Nihilego. Or absorbs one or something. Yeah, but then after that, after she does that, you have a Pokemon fight with her, right? It's like, you're not fighting her... You're fighting You're not fighting her as like a weird Ultra Beast. She's actually like using Pokemon after that, so it's a little weird. Serena. Yeah, let's switch Pokemon. Go, Screech Power. Serena's definitely one of those designs where, like, like, the Pokemon is, what do I want to say? Like, stylized enough to get away with what it's doing, but what it's doing is kind of this, this is a, like, thigh-high stiletto heels Pokemon, which is a little weird. But, you know, whatever, man. Pokemon are weird, I guess. Let's do... How much damage does Air Cutter do? Power 60, accuracy 95, 80, 100. Let's do Cross Poison. Then we get the stab and the super effective. Biggity 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 bow. Yeah, no reason not to just do Cross Poison again. I wonder what it's... Is this her last Pokemon? Like, surely a last Pokemon is coming and she's gonna Dynamax it, right? Otherwise, why would they give us the option of a Dynamax battle? Oh, he got a little back from his Black Sludge. Garbodor. Yep. Gigantamax Garbodor. Let's switch Pokemon. So this is going to be a Poison type. So best bet is probably to bring Oakley back out. Or I could do Rude, who is still a few levels behind everyone else, so... Yeah, let's do Rude. Yeah, since he's a little bit behind. Go Rude. Seriously? Alright. It's like, I don't think that I need to Dynamax. But you want that Kaiju fight, right? How hard is it? 130, that's really not bad. However, I don't think it actually works with Sheer Force. We'll see. If it does work with Sheer Force, then it should do a lot more damage. But I get the feeling that Dynamax moves actually don't work with Sheer Force. Or they don't proc it, right? They don't become stronger and then skip the... I'll treat you to something truly spectacular. Oh, here we go. Yerg. Again, right? Characters with a lot of personality. Fantastic, right? It's like, here's this character, she's very stoic the whole, like, very quiet, very stoic. But you can tell that she's got that going on, right? And then here, how she's just, like, freaking just about to just lose her bananas. Just, she's so mad. I love it. It's good times. There's so much about this game that is good, right? It's like, we just got done talking about, like, how some of the backgrounds are, like, completely undercooked. But there's stuff like this, right? Characters that are, like, the worst part about this character, what sucks about this character, is what sucks about most of the characters in this game, which is that they do very little throughout the game, right? It's like, oh, surprise, this lady turned out to be bad, and it's like, we kind of saw it coming, and at no point did you try to swerve us, and also we don't know much about her, so we're just kind of like operating on inertia here. Anyway, Max Quake. Oof. This guy might actually take out. I don't think this guy attacks special defense. I mean, it makes sense. Just throwing max. Oh, okay. All right. All right. All right. It's a good thing I did Dynamax then. Here I am like, I don't think I'm going to need to Dynamax. And then, if I hadn't, I probably wouldn't have gotten the two hits in that I did. Let's straight up poison type. Yeah, let's go to Oakley. So I'm going to possibly waste a turn to revive Rude, because I think if I revive him, then he doesn't miss out on XP. So hopefully here Oakley can tank whatever comes. Okay, we should be good. Oh, except that he's been boosting his special defense, so... Oh, okay. We just lost the Dynamax. We'll see. Definitely hoping for a shell sidearm here. Or not a shell sidearm, but a quick draw. Quick draw! Nice. Horsepoint Mine says, yeah, genuinely, I think this may be my favorite Pokemon game despite all the issues. Mine too. It's like, because of max raids and because of how, like, it's like, outside of, like, battle stuff, how well designed the whole world is, right? Like, smart ideas about what gyms represent, smart ideas about, the fact that Pokemon turn into kaiju in this. It's good. There's a lot of good stuff in this game. Really appreciate it. Oh, Sakarath redeemed a story about Kansas. Okay, let me get to a stopping point, and then we'll do a story about Kansas. Don't let me forget. Oh, she's sad. I wasn't able to win. Oleana, you really are a hopeless woman. Oh, she's turning that inward. Also, what's she wearing around her neck? Does she have like a BDSM outfit under that? You go, girl. Hey, whatever makes you feel sexy. Ah, this is inexcusable. What was I thinking? Any gym challenger who's made it this far would be no pushover. Under normal circumstances, I would have tried to delay you further. However, all the necessary wishing stars have been collected. Do as you wish. There is nothing to be done now. Typical Petunia. You and Nidoking are unstoppable. Yeah. Root's pretty good. Everything I did to further the chairman's own goals. Leon, we've discussed this 100 times already. This is where you get to see the motivation. So, okay, see if you guys can understand what the deal is here, right? So, everybody, let's pay very close attention. So, this is Rose speaking. Leon, we've discussed this 100 times already. And still, you fail to understand what's at stake. You, who is supposed to be our champion. Leon says, I think I understand well enough. What I don't understand is why we ought to cancel tomorrow's tournament in order to solve a problem that's 1,000 years away from affecting any of us. What difference is one day going to make? My duty as champion isn't this madness. It's to carry out that championship match. That's what Galar wants, and what I want. It's what we've all been looking forward to. For so long. Rose says, no, you don't understand. You still don't understand a thing. Look around us, Leon. Look at the Galar region stretched out before us. By the way, I don't mind that these are just drawings, right? It's like the characters are already not voiced, So doing this actually gives us something new to look at, and I like it. This is actually good. I'm not. I think some people are like, oh yeah, you put in like still images because you couldn't animate this stuff, and if that's the case, then good job, right? Because yeah, you're standing on this giant tower. Although this tower is so tall, I would actually think these buildings should look smaller because they go on and on and on about just how freaking tall this tower is. So anyway, but it's fine. Anyway, keep paying attention. Look around us, Leon. Look at the Galar region stretched out before us, and know that the energy required to keep this brilliant, glittering world alive will be exhausted. A millennium from now. The people of Galar today will no longer even exist. What Galar wants today hardly matters. The future is more important than just one day. We must act as quickly as we possibly can. We must take action in order to avert tragedy, so that all can look forward to a better future. Leon, in 1,000 years? Fine. Look, I think I understand your concerns, Chairman. And I give you my word, I'll help you with your plans just as soon as tomorrow's match is over. Lee, you never showed when you were supposed to, so I got worried that something had happened. So we broke into this tower. Right? It's like everybody like it's like these two are kids, but like Piers and like well actually mainly Piers. They were like, we gotta do something, kids. Come on, let's storm the tower. Anyway, uh Pierce and Marnie and all those Team Yale oddballs, they all helped us get out to get here. Way to narc on them too. Now everybody's going to jail, Hop. I must apologize to you, Hop, if we've made you worry at all. There are times when adults just can't seem to have an honest discussion with one another. That's hella passive aggressive. Sometimes our pride just gets in the way. Never mind any of these of this, Hop, Petunia. Let's head back to the hotel and we'll all grab dinner together. Yeah? It's on me, so you can order whatever you fancy. Yes, cheddar biscuits. That's cheddar biscuits. If you'll excuse us, Chairman Rose, and I do hope you'll watch tomorrow's match. It's sure to be one for the history books. One for the history books. You still don't understand, young champion. No, I'm going to change the course of history. The next evening. Okay, right. So far the argument seems to be Rose wants to like put a stop to all Dynamax things, including like tomorrow's tournament, because if he doesn't, then 1,000 years from now they're going to run out of Dynamax energy. Right? That's kind of what it seemed. I think they'll probably explain it a little bit more later. But it seems really weird. It seems like it should be the other way around, right? It's like Leon should be like, "Hey, I've been talking to people and they say this Dynamax stuff is dangerous. We should stop doing it." And Rose is like, "Nonsense. We should keep going." So I don't know. It's weird. It's like we'll see. We'll see if they like if they mess with it some more. Horsepoint Mind says, "Yeah, I actually really like the drawings. It looks better than the character models just mouthing away at nothing." Yeah, no, absolutely. This is it. Did you get enough sleep? You and your team are the ones battling, but I've had Butterfree in my stomach since I woke up. Challenger Petunia? The finals will be starting shortly. I'm here to escort you to the stadium. What's all this? Didn't you learn your lesson yesterday? If you need another helping of Hop and his trusty Cinderace, I'll be happy to give you one. He never threw out Cinderace. He just like it was all Dubwool, which is fine. Dubwool is a great Pokemon. I actually like Dubwool a lot more than I like Cinderace, so. No, wait, please. I'm not like those other league staff. I'm a good one, if I may say so myself. I heard about what happened yesterday. Miss Oleana can be a little extreme in her desire to assist the chairman with his goals, I'm afraid. It seems she was cultivating her own group of league staff in secret to be deployed for, well, things like that debacle last night. But you've no need to worry about today's staff. All of us here are here for the right reasons. Well, that's what she says. I guess we trust her then. Yeah, Petunia? Let's go. I can't wait another minute. No. Because I need to save. Come talk with me again if you need any help or use one of the flying taxis out front. Okay, let's save. Sakurat says, at this point, he's a future prescient CEO. I really don't think that he's a villain. Right? It... Like... This happens in a lot of... In a lot of media, but I feel that it happens a lot in Japanese media, specifically because there's kind of this, like, I don't know, necessity in Japanese children's animation and media to have everything upscale up to be like an existential cosmic crisis. And, like, things don't need to be. Like, you know, everybody always looks back to Gen 1 and they're like, okay, yeah, Gen 1's the best. Everybody loves Gen 1. Like, there was no existential threat in Gen 1, right? It's catching Mewtwo is not even actually part of the story. It's all about busting Giovanni, right? So, and plus, you know, the Pokemon League stuff. So it's weird. Like, you could have this story here where it is just about the Galar region and about like the gyms and about the relationship that Rose Co. or whatever, like the company, has with everybody else, and maybe he's not a bad person, but by virtue of being a CEO, he is kind of a bad person, right? Because it's hard to become an incredibly wealthy, like millionaire, billionaire type person without like crushing people in some way. Hey Harv, you're just in time. Sakarath uh, redeemed a story about Kansas. So, um, I think it's time that I told one of the most intense stories about Kansas. If you listen to the Major Spoilers podcast, you may have heard me tell this story before. Um, but if you don't, then hang on to something. It's, you know, whatever. Maybe it's not that bad. Let's see. Horse One Mind says, I found out only very recently that the Gen 3 story is based around an actual political debate in Japan about whether to fill in a bay and create more land or whether to leave the water habitats alone. That's great. I didn't realize that it was uh, based on an actual thing. Um, all right. So I moved to Kansas to work for a public TV station just out of college, right? I was just out of college. They hired me. And my boss was this guy who was an extremely terrible boss. Like, a very annoying person, but, you know, whatever, an okay person. But a really terrible boss. He was the sort of person who was micromanagey about some stuff, but would completely leave you, you know, dry if you actually needed his help. He's the sort of person who always had to had like his thumbprint on things. Um, and he is someone who kind of didn't really understand a lot of what TV was like. Even though he had been working in TV for a long time, there were just some things that he just didn't get. Um, so when I first got there, he was very nice, and then it like became obvious that like he like the only reason why he hired me, um, because there was a another candidate, um, like there were other candidates basically. Um, like the main reason why he hired me was because he wanted someone else from like a city that he could like I guess hang out with and make fun of the Hicks with, right? And I was like, well, that's not me, right? I'm like, I don't think of myself as like and even back then didn't think of myself as like a cultured urbane person. Like I have lived in the suburbs my entire life, so I wasn't like, oh yeah, I went to school at a fancy university. Like I barely got I barely passed. I barely graduated uh, out of that fancy university, so no, that's not me. But anyway, so that's who this guy was. Um, we'll call him Boss Man for short. So one thing that we did is twice a year, and then eventually only once a year, we had an art auction, and the art auction was an all-day fundraiser. Basically, all of these artists would donate their pieces, and then we would auction them, and all of the proceeds went to our PBS station as a fundraiser, right? So it was our biggest fundraiser of the year every year, um, and there was a lot riding on it. So I'm sorry, there's a lot of like like prefacing that needs to go to the story so that you guys know what's going on. So um, every year for the auction, even though it's not art, um, we would get a signed basketball um, from the K State basketball team, right? I don't know if you guys are. Some of you guys aren't American, but like K State is a university in Kansas, um, and it has a rivalry with. No, sorry, it was a KU autograph basketball. I still get them confused because I've never cared about sports, but it specifically was KU. So we got that every year. It went for a certain amount of money, like 50, $100. But that year, KU, I think either went all the way to the championship or won the championship. Didn't Kansas invent basketball? I think so. Yeah. I think basketball does come from Kansas. Um, so that year, Harvey says, "I'm with you so far." Dillweed boss, less than competent, wanted to be your buddy. Yep. So 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 that year, um, KU won it all. So all of a sudden, we had a basketball. Like we had already received this basketball. We had a basketball with like the winning team signatures. So we were like, "Oh man, this is gonna go for so much money." Um, I have no idea where basketball actually comes from, but we'll somebody make a note. We'll look it up after the story. Um, okay, so we got this basketball, right? So okay, my job during the art auction was to be floor director. And what a floor director does is they basically cue the talent, they keep track of things, and they essentially enact the actual directors, like the director's will on the floor. So I'm like running around making sure that everybody's fine, got their places, that the art is being moved properly, blah blah blah. So but there's a chain of command. The director is in charge, right? I take my marching orders from the director, not from anybody else. So it comes time for the basketball, or the basketball is getting near, right? So the boss man comes over to me and he says, okay, so if the basketball starts making money, we're just going to stretch that segment, right? Rather than saying the segment goes for like 10 minutes, because that's what we did is we like presented stuff for like 10 minutes, and then if people were still bidding, all that bidding just happened in the background, right? They could continue to bid on stuff, and the people at the phone banks knew how to handle that. But he's like, we are not going to cut away from the basketball, um, if the bidding gets hot, right? So um, I'm like, okay, hey, the director, boss man says that he wants to do this, and the director's like, no, we're not doing that. Like, we have a very tight schedule. We have like 20 other items to get through. Like, we're not doing that. And I was like, okay, we're not doing that. Like, and I was like, if anybody's gonna get in trouble, it's gonna be the director, right? That shows what I know because boss man was on the floor. So I'm like, yeah. So when it comes time, I'm just not gonna do it, right? So in comes the basketball. Bids start coming in, and the we had um, a very capable person doing sort of the because you have an auctioneer, right? And it's not like a classic auctioneer where they're like, oh, 25, 25, 25. Like basically you have people sit there and talk about the piece, right? They're like, who is it from? With like some history, and then they basically riff on it. So the person that was doing it was a lady who was like part of the Hayes artist community, and she was very good. Like she was very good on not just good at talking about art, but just quick on her feet and just good all around. So it comes time. The basketball's doing well. We have to close the auction window for the basketball. So I look over at him, and he's giving her this symbol, which means stretch, right? It means like keep going. Usually we do this for like if we need to fill time, and then the talent knows to just keep talking, right? And talent that is talented can figure out ways to just keep talking. So he starts giving her this signal. He shouldn't be. I'm the floor director. I'm really the only person that should be giving them signals. Just, you know. So as soon as it gets to be 10 seconds, I start counting down out loud because that's something that we did for the auction. Um, so, or like 15 seconds. I think we started counting at 15 seconds. So I start counting down, and he's like, no, no. And he runs over and he covers my mouth. And it's like, and it was this moment where like, I think, I don't know. It's like, have you ever had a moment where you like maybe you're cutting something and you drop a knife and you reach down to catch it. And as you're reaching down to catch it, you're like, oh no, I'm going to cut myself trying to catch this knife. That's what that moment felt like for him. Like he covers my mouth and I like look over at him and he lets go and he's like, I'm the boss. You're supposed to be. And I'm like, you don't touch me. Like I got like all the way up in his face and I'm like, you don't touch me. And I have never seen anybody so scared. Like the way that he backed away from me, like he made this face. And like he kind of got a little bit of his gumption back and he like comes up to me and he's like, I'm the boss. You're supposed to do what I say. I'm the boss. And I'm like, okay, well, you tell them. And I took off my headset and I handed it to him and I walked off. So, so that happened. Um, so what happened then? Um, a lot of stuff happened for various amounts of time. Like, first off, there were like a lot of board members there, and they saw it happen, right? So weirdly, because both my direct boss and the board members were there and they saw it happen, it turned out I didn't realize it at the time, but I was kind of completely protected because, yeah, he like basically assaulted me, and um, everybody saw him do it, and everybody knew why he did it. You know, they knew that I didn't provoke him. So he went to my direct boss and he's like, I think we need to put like he's like Rodrigo left his post. I think we need to put like a like a demerit or like a sanction or something in his permanent file. And my boss, who was like a nice old lady, you know, who like didn't usually, you know, get in anybody's face, she was like, no, definitely not. Like, uh, you basically slapped him, and he did. He actually like he did it so fast, you know, because he was so worried that he hit me. Like he hit me, and like he hit my teeth, and like I could taste his hand. Is like super terrible, right? Just in every way. Um, so I go back to the truck, and I'm like, hey guys, I think I'm gonna get fired. And like one of the engineers is like, he's not gonna fire you. Like he just needs to like everybody just needs to cool down and it'll be fine. And I'm like, I think I'm getting fired, but he was right. He didn't fire me. Um, Somebody from the board did approach me to be like, do you want to like make a formal complaint? And I'm like, if the people on the board saw him do it and they're not gonna fire him, then it's like people saw him do this. I shouldn't need to file a formal complaint because nothing's gonna happen with that formal complaint anyway. Um, so I think before the auction was over, because I was going home, I'm like, I'm going home. I'm not gonna finish out this auction or this day of the auction. Um, I think as I was getting ready to leave, somebody told him to apologize to me. So he came out and he was like, he's like, well, I'm sorry. He's like, I'm sorry if what I did upset you, but you know, I don't think like what else could I have done, right? And it's like, by the way, it's like we now live in a time where like you can tell online when somebody gives a false apology. Like that was my first real moment of being like, wow, this is not an apology, right? Um, so uh, yeah, he's like, well, what else? What else could I have done? And I'm like, well, you could have picked up one of the phones and hit me with it. That could have actually stopped me from doing my job. And he was like, he's like, well, you know, and I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever, man. Like, I'm leaving. I'm out of here. And yeah, I left. And I didn't get fired, and he didn't get fired. That's like the lamest part about this whole thing, is that actually nothing happened, except that I kind of made a solemn vow then that I was just never going to do anything for this guy again. I wasn't going to laugh at any of his stupid jokes. I wasn't going to like whenever he told me like he would look at one of my projects and he'd be like, "Well, I would like for this and this to change." And like from then on I would be like, "Okay, beep boop beep. Hey boss man, I'm ready for that." And I definitely did what you told me. And he'd look at it again, and because he was an idiot, he'd just be like, "Yeah, see, doesn't that look so much better?" And I'd be like, "Yep, you were right." Um, yeah, like he would come in into our office, into like the production office, and like make jokes, and everybody would be like, "Huh, yeah," and I would just be like, and he'd explain the joke to me, and I'd be like, "I understood the joke." Like I just never let him have anything ever again. Um, Eventually he left, and I stayed for a few more years. Um, but yeah, that's the story of the time that my boss like Slap me in the face. All right. Let's see what you guys are saying. Harvester says get dunked on, boss man. Horseman says, whoa, that got so bad so fast. Yep. Harvester says, oh hell no. He's like, yeah, that reflex and instantaneous regret. Yeah, definitely. Horsepoint Mind says, I'm the boss as a man who just has done one of the most unprofessional things possible. Yeah. Harv says, dude is lucky he didn't get his hand bit. I mean, he thought I was going to punch him. He really, really thought I was about to just deck him in the face. Um, or the captions going haywire. Sorry, I was probably talking like really fast, so they probably couldn't figure it out. No, the hand flavor, yeah, it sucked. What good does a complaint do if that's the recost they're considering? Yeah, no. Sorry you're mad. Yep. Sinjidolo says the non-apology. Yeah. This guy, Sakurai with this guy, right? Um, we love a faux apology. Narrator. We did not love a faux apology. Um, yeah, absolutely. That's yeah, that it's like I learned a lot from that experience. Um, and yeah, like sometimes when I talk to other people about it, when I talk to like my friends about it, they're like, I can't believe like they're like, I could never treat my boss the way that you treat your boss, and I'm like, he's actually kind of a coward. Like one of the things that I realize is that he's a coward. He's not going to pursue anything because he just can't. He's not going to do it. So I can actually do whatever I want and it'll be fine. And I did, and it was fine. Um, Horse One Mind says, now the captions are fine. They just had a hard time when you said something about a truck next to a word that started with F. Oh no. Oh, captions. This is supposed to be a family stream. Um, but yeah, yeah. I like that is. I think that's definitely one of Steven's favorite stories because he knows the guy, or he knew the guy. Actually, very recently, just a few, maybe a couple months ago, um, the guy who was the director contacted me. I hadn't spoken to him, in a few months, maybe a year. Um, and he's like, "Hey, boss man died. He was already in his like 70s when he was there, and he's like, yeah, he passed away." And I was like, "Okay, that's too bad." It's like I like to this day, I'm like, I do not owe that man anything. I do not owe him any respect because he showed me none. And when he died, it like I'm not like ha ha ha. I'm glad that he died because I'm not. I don't care. I'm like, yeah, okay, well, he died. That's fine. He's been out of my life for years, so it literally doesn't matter. If he had died after doing that, then maybe I would have been happy. I would have been like, okay, well, I don't have to deal with this anymore. But no, he just a few years later, I think died, you know, uh, in probably peacefully in his bed, and that's fine, you know. But man, yeah, what a like that became legendary. Like people that were like only loosely tied to the station, people that weren't there, would like come and talk to me about it. Um, and it was something that was like basically recounted yearly, like gather round ye children. Um, it's something that was referenced constantly. When we got a new general manager, like people were like, "Oh, just make sure you don't hit Rodrigo," and he was like, "What?" And like when they explained it to him, he was like, "What?" Yeah, pretty much like all across Kansas. Um, Harvester says it's so hard to convey that level of broken trust or faith. Yeah, absolutely. Unless you have been through it, the profound write-off. Yeah, it's like it's tough, and it's tough but in a lot of ways it freed me because he was a terrible boss. And I was like, well, I want to keep this job. This is my first job out of college. I don't want to be fired. But then after it happened, I was like, I'm free. Like I don't have to like this guy. I don't have to pretend to like this guy. Like also, it made me kind of a rock star at work because I stood up to him, you know? So it was nice, for a while. The rock star status that only lasted for, probably a couple weeks. Um, but people remembered it, right? It's like in the for the people that were there, for the people that heard it, they were like, yeah, you don't mess around with Rodrigo. This was long before F around and find out was around, but that guy effed around and found out, right? So yeah. Anyway, that's the story. Horse One Mind says, I hope the story grew in the telling across Kansas. I'm sure it has. People tend to embellish things. I try not to embellish it too much because it would be easy to talk about like states of mind and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, honestly, what happened was exactly what happened. And pretty much the way that I told it is how I remember it happening. Um, Horse One Mind says, and then Rodrigo pulled a sword and Boss Man did a backflip. Is like, yeah. Rodrigo revealed his concealed Tech 9 and started shooting at all the art. Um, Dang, Rodrigo, you may one day end up a local mythical figure or heck, even a cryptid. Probably more a cryptid considering how much hair I had at the time. But yeah, that would be funny to end up a like Pecos Bill or like Paul Bunyan type folk hero in Kansas. But probably not. The Steely Wrath of Rodrigo, Rejecter of Hospitality as a Fey legend is fantastic. Yep. Sinjadolu says, "No, I know why your player. Now I know why your players shut up so quickly." Yeah, Stephen and Matthew have known about that story for a long time, and I don't know if Brian and Rob know it, but yeah, it's like, it was weird. It's also one of those times when I'm like, yeah, actually, I'm not a chump. It's like sometimes life makes you feel like a chump. Like you're just gonna take it, and it's easy to just roll with the punches and just be like, okay, whatever. But there are like precious few times in my life where I was like, nope, I am not like, I have dignity, and that line has been crossed, right? Um, so there's at least one other story in which that happens, but I will leave that for another time and another redemption of a Kansas story. Please don't go immediately into the points and redeem another Kansas story. We should leave it for another stream. But yeah, there's at least one more story in which I stick up for myself in the face of really incredible ineptitude. Like that's one thing about my time in Kansas is just like so many like really inept institutions. And it's like it's nothing against Kansas itself. Like the people are nice. Like I think people are good. Other than the fact that the majority of them are Republicans, and I hate that. Um, but yeah, there's just kind of this like when you think about like it's like just people that are not good at their jobs just getting hired or like rehired is like it's such a small pool of talent that like you can always just go work somewhere else and like the same bunch of dorks just goes around and around and around. Um, Again, not everybody's like that, right? Obviously, Steven's very talented, Matthew's very talented, but Matthew's in a different district, right? It's like very far away from where I was living, and obviously Steven had been like the head of a department for a long time. But I'm sure he will attest that the same bunch of dorks just kind of make the rounds and make the rounds and make the rounds. But anyway, yeah. Um, Gato Logic says, being from Texas, I can relate. Yeah, I'm sure it's a very similar situation. Harvester says, Rodrigo's recounting Kansas is such a good segment. That was wonderful and visceral. Well, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Saint Jadoli says, moves miles away from points. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it again later. Horsepoint Mind says, yeah, it's such a validating feeling, especially when you're young, to know you're in the right in an environment where you often feel like you're not. It really is. And it's like, my Latino-ness didn't come up a lot, but there's an aspect of it, right? It's like I worked like exclusively with white people, when you're a minority and you're like completely outnumbered, there's like a very natural fear of stepping out of line. But man, sometimes you just need to step out of line. Um, so yeah, that was the story. What time is it? 3:42. I feel like um, I feel like if we play some more Pokemon, um, we're gonna run into the story. So maybe we'll save that for later, and we'll just keep chatting. Um, but we can keep chatting about Pokemon because just give me a second. Let me save my game and close this up. Because I've been watching Pokemon Journeys. Have any of you guys watched Pokemon Journeys? If you are um, major spoilers VIPs, if you're in our Patreon, you might have heard me talk yesterday about Pokemon Journeys. I mean, it's a series that's been out for a long time. Uh, is this playing? Uh, oh, there we go. Can you guys hear that music? There we go. Let's see. Um, Harvester says, I'm happy to chat. I'm fresh out of online final exam and just chilling, and the dialogue is grand. Oh, good for you. Sejado says, I'm going to catch the rest of the Poke Chat on the VOD as I need to go to bed. Great stream and awesome story. Well, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Horsepound Mind says, I haven't seen it, but I did learn that one of the Pokemon Journeys episodes is the first time Ash officially trains a ghost type. Um, okay. Yeah. There is that. So, yeah, so I've been watching it, and I had seen clips from it, and I was like, what is this show? And it's kind of, I mean, it's like, Ash Ketchum is like a perpetual like 10-year-old, right? Or like 12-year-old. Um, so even though he's been having adventures for the past like 20 something years, he's still a kid, right? So Pokemon Journeys is like the premise is Ash and this new character Go are um, are helping another, I believe, new character, Professor Cerise. I don't know if Professor Cerise is like actually from a game, um, but basically they've become Pokemon researchers, and also Ash wants to be a champion, um, and Go wants to catch one of every Pokemon, including Mew, and that's kind of like their motivations for doing what they're doing. But what's nice is, it's a Pokemon like the old Pokemon anime, except it looks at like the entire history of Pokemon as something to draw from. The thing about the Pokemon anime is that it was like, okay, like we're in Kanto, and then second generation comes out like, okay, now we're in Johto, and then the next generation comes out and they're like, we're in Sinnoh or wherever. Um, and it just kind of like piecemeal added Pokemon lore. But this is something that gets to look at all of that Pokemon lore and um, and do something with it, right? So you have like Leon, right? Leon from Sword and Shield is in it. So he appears and he talks to Ash and he does stuff, and also like um, by the way, spoiler alert, Ash's Pikachu is a Gigantamax Pikachu, which I think we could have all figured out, right? It's like, obviously Ash's Pikachu is like the most specialist, most powerful, most bestest Pikachu ever. Um, but yeah, it's cute. I started watching it to be like, okay, whatever, I'll just put it on. But actually, I'm very like I keep like actually watching it, not because I'm like into the characters because the characters are kind of dumb, but they're actually less dumb than they were in the anime. There's a little bit more like connection there between the characters to the point where some people are like, this always happens, but some people are like, yeah, Go and Ash kind of read as, you know, like having an attraction to each other. Um, and I think either reading is fine if you're like, yeah, they're just young boys and they like their emotions kind of run high and that's why they're so like emotionally open with each other. Or if you're like, yeah, they're, kind of like a little baby couple, is like, I think it works either way and it doesn't detract from anything. Um, but yeah, so the characters are fine. But I am consistently really interested in the implementation of like Pokemon lore back into this. Um, it's like I know I saw something, and it might not be for several seasons, that like basically what do I want to say, mega evolutions, right? Mega evolutions like play some important part. So it's like, do you have mega evolutions and like Dynamaxing in the same space? And it's like the anime can do that because it doesn't have the same restrictions that the game has. Oh, one thing that happens is I don't know how familiar you guys are with the original games, but like Lance makes an appearance, and it's really amazing because they don't change his design very much. So Lance still looks like that like 1990s Pokemon thing with like kind of like long eyes with like a little dot, whereas like all the other Pokemon characters now have like kind of more standard anime eyes and stuff. So I was like looking back and forth, is like, is somebody gonna point out that this person like looks like they're from a different world? But nobody did, and it was fine. But yeah, um, Harvester says that sounds pretty cool. Cognizant of all the established setting stuff from the outset. Yeah, 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 yeah. And it allows him to play with stuff in like really good ways, right? It's like the two main characters is like one of them is like Ash has a Pikachu and Go has a Score Bunny, right? So it's like a Gen 1 character and a Gen, what are we at, 8 character, like Pokemon, and they're together and they're hanging out from the beginning. It's interesting. It's good. Harvest says, as an adult who gets very misty-eyed, not even sorry, watching basically any episode of the anime, whenever something meaningful happens, I am sure I would be into it. Yeah, and that's the thing about it, is that it's just like the more you know about Pokemon, the more there is in this anime for you to look at, right? It's like they go to Unova or whatever, and they go to like the ruins, and it's like if you played what Black White, it's like those ruins, and there's a character who's like a little ranger person, and I don't remember her, but I'm sure she's actually probably a character from the video games. And they meet this guy there who is a Pokemon trainer, and he has a shiny Psyduck. And I know that shiny Pokemon had appeared in the series before. Actually, a shiny Pokemon appears right before that because Lance has a shiny Gyarados. But yeah, so a shiny Psyduck, and the guy is a shiny hunter. And he's like, yeah, I only catch Pokemon if they're shiny, or like if they have some sort of like color thing. Um, and the characters are like, why? And he's like, well, because, my very first Pokemon that I caught was a shiny, and so from now on I want to only catch shiny Pokemon. And the other characters are like, but they're so rare. It's like, like, it's gonna take you forever to fill out your Pokedex. And the guy's like, I don't care how long it takes. Oh, cool, cool. Lance continuity, yeah. Um, yeah, so, but I was like, I'm watching this guy and I was like, I kind of feel attacked by, yeah, Shiny Hunter is neat as an in-world thing. Yeah, definitely. And it's like, why not, right? Like, so much time has passed and there's like a lot of different ways in which people enjoy Pokemon. And that's actually a very interesting thing, and that's why they have Go and Ash together. Go actually wants to catch them all. Ash wants to be the very best, like no one ever was, right? Ash wants to be a top, like the ultimate champion, and Go wants to catch them all. He wants to complete the Pokedex, and those are two very different ways in which people enjoy Pokemon, right? Either the competitive aspect or the catching aspect. And a single person can enjoy Pokemon both ways, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't have that enjoyment. So to see that represented in the anime is actually very seems very valuable, right? Because a kid who is watching the anime and wanting to get into the games can get into the games and then be like, I'm gonna be like Ash and I'm gonna be a like big battler, or I'm gonna be like Go and I'm gonna catch everyone, and they'll be disappointed because actually both of those things are very hard to do. But it gives them something to strive for and something to try, right? It's one of the big ways in which characters enjoy the game. So there's a third character who's a girl named Chloe, and she's kind of a side character, although she has at least one episode that's pretty much about her. And she just has one Pokemon, and I'm like, I wonder if this is also meant to be an archetype of like the person who just a person who is like involved in Pokemon but not involved in Pokemon, like a person who is like likes Pokemon but doesn't really play the games, or kind of only minorly plays the games, but is still kind of a valuable addition to like the Pokemon world, right? Like you have people who draw Pokemon and people who cosplay as Pokemon characters, and they're a valuable part of the wider Pokemon world, right? Just because you don't play the games or the trading card game or the video games or whatever doesn't mean that you're not a part of the fandom, right? You still can exist within like the Pokemon's thing. So I don't know if that's on purpose, right? Go and Ash seem very purposeful, as to like being like, I want to play the VGC, I want to catch them all and trade people for stuff. Whereas like the other one, maybe I'm just extrapolating, like wanting to find a reason as to why there's this girl who's kind of only tangentially involved in the plot. Let's see. Horsepawn Mind says, I really like the Generations anthology series. Yes. It sounds like this does something kind of similar in changing the normal anime formula. It does. It changes it a lot less, right? Generations, and then there was another one, Evolutions. So Generations and Evolutions, which I really like, uh, sort of show you the Pokemon world from the point of from specifically from a point of view that you might not have, that you don't get in the games or the anime usually, right? Usually you're looking at it from the point of view of like a 10-year-old kid going on this adventure and blah blah blah, and here come the bad guys and here come the good guys or whatever. So it's like there's an Evolutions or a Generations episode that's like about like the rival from Gold and Silver, right? There's like who's Giovanni's kid, and it's like that investigator guy is like talking to him about it and about how like Giovanni like escaped again or something, and he's like sad because it's his dad. Um, so yeah, that's kind of what Generations and Evolutions are. Is like there's a an episode of Evolutions that's like a theater performance where like these women are training, like kind of perform this play with some Eevee or some evolutions, basically some like a Flareon, a Vaporeon or something, and I think they're enacting, I forget what exactly it was, but I want to say it was like it's like some legendary Pokemon drama. I don't remember exactly what it was. Is it Ho-Oh and Lugia? I think it is. It might be that. Um, but yeah, so those like take a very distant approach from like the standard like here's a character, right? The other thing is that they also show you in-game happenings that like they reimagine them into something like visual, right? As opposed to like there being like two guys there and just like scrolling text like blah 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 blah, blah, like you see these characters talking and you see the guy and he's like captured Xerneas and you like free him and blah blah blah. So yeah. Yeah, I think it was the Ekrutik sisters. Yeah, they tell this story about Ho and Lugia, and they use Eevees for or evolutions for like the special effects. It's super cute, and like it's exactly the stuff that I want to see in Pokemon, right? Because Pokemon are these fantastic little god beings, and seeing them sort of exist, like actually exist in a world where what they do makes sense. Let me change it to just chatting. Uh, yeah, just kind of seeing them exist, actually do things that aren't just fighting, actually see how people relate to their Pokemon is interesting. Especially because Pokemon's been around for so long, right? There's so much history, so much lore to it. Um, Harvest says meta discussion with diegetic writing is a fun way to explore the aspects of the original anime. Does the original anime doesn't choose to address or didn't know to address, right? Because the original anime came out a little bit after Pokemon originally came out. So all of these play modes didn't exist yet, right? Like, who knows? Someday in the anime, we might encounter a Nuzlocke who's just like, yeah, if my Pokemon lose a battle, I release them, right? And it's like, okay, well, that's hardcore. That would be interesting to have a character who's like playing a Nuzlocke. It would be something. Uh, Harvester says, I've been seeing recent white YouTube ads for the Pokemon TCG that are explicitly adult oriented, like mid 20s people playing the game. Well, those are people that would have grown up playing the game, right? So they're probably like they're at that cusp of like having disposable income, but also probably having drifted away from the game. That now they're trying to pull them back. It's like, now that you got money, like come on back. Yeah, the Kimono Sisters. Blah, 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 blah. Horsepawn Mine says, I think Generations has them doing a raid on Giovanni's headquarters, and they have Machamps and Arcanines as part of the SWAT team, which is very cool. ACAB, except Pokemon Cops, I guess. I mean, it doesn't mean, like, that's the thing, is like, you know, we can ACAB all day, but there's a reason why cop shows are as popular as they are, and that's that, violence and raids and all that stuff is exciting, right? So yes, seeing them use Pokemon as part of the police force makes sense. It does make sense, and it is interesting. So yeah, I mean, obviously you can be like, but I don't f with that. I mean, that's perfectly fine. Um, I mean, I certainly am conflicted about like watching Brooklyn or like I stopped watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine before all this stuff happened, just because I think I just kind of had a sense of like, this doesn't seem right. This isn't right. Like, there's something about this that bothers me. Kind of having grown up in a place where like cops would actually like hassle you. So yeah, but yeah, it's fun to see Pokemon actually take part in the world. Um, Harvester says, I mean, the kid Ash adopted Charmander from was essentially a Nuzlocke before they existed. That's a good point. Beat Cup Pikachu? Please no. Please absolutely not. Um, but yeah, I mean, like, Detective Pikachu was another step sort of in that direction, right? Where you do get to see, because there's actually not a lot of Pokemon battling in Detective Pikachu. They have to go out of their way to show you a dog fight. Um, it's like there's actually very little Pokemon battling in Detective Pikachu. Um, Harvester says, "Oh yeah, your kid's name was Damien." It's like, Damien is such a like bad kid name. Um, I have a really good friend named Damien, and I think he spells it differently, but I think he recognizes that too. Um, so yeah. It's like uh, I can maybe watch one or two episodes at a time of Pokemon Journeys because it is a show for kids, and sometimes I'm like, okay, all right, like I've had enough of Ash. He's a little bit annoying, and actually goes a little bit annoying too. But the very first episode of Journeys has them both as little kids, so it like goes back in time and shows you when they were little, and like Go is just like such an obnoxious little know-it-all kid who like interrupts the teacher to like add additional information, and I'm like, oh my god, that was me as a child. Like that's exactly what I was like, and like people used to call me Go because my name's Rodrigo, and I'm like, how did I end up in this Pokemon show? And it's like when he grows up, he's not very much like me, right? He's interested in sort of like slightly different things, but it's like there was something about like yeah, this little baby who like keeps interrupting the teacher and be like, I did all my own research in this, and I think that this is what happens when a barracuda is swimming around in the ocean. Like that's literally what my life. That's who I was. Um, so yeah, yeah, it's cute. I mean, I don't like. It's not like required watching if you like Pokemon, but it's interesting. I like it a lot more than I expected to like a Pokemon anime nowadays. Also, the animation is really good, which is good, because actually the animation of the original anime a lot of the time left something to be desired. Harvestry says, "Oh, speaking of the original anime, I recently started watching Revolutionary Girl Utena. Utena? I don't know. I don't remember. For the first time, and like 10 episodes in, I recognized Utena's English VA also played Jessie in Pokemon. Oh, nice. Um, yeah, it's a trip to go back and watch old anime. Um, I haven't seen every episode of Utena, but I've seen a few, and I enjoyed it. Utena's good. It's very like it's like a it's like kind of postmodern. I think I don't know. It's like it's weird. It's a good one. It's good. I liked it. Um, Gacha Logic says, I remember you being a dinosaur guy. Yeah, I definitely was. As a kid, I loved dinosaurs, and if anybody was talking about dinosaurs, I wanted to be involved in that conversation. And I loved animals in general. So if animals would come up at school, I'd be like, oh, well, this isn't this. Like, I'm sure if you haven't seen it, then you have at least seen it on TV, where like a kid will be like talking, and the teacher will be like, oh, would you like to teach the class? And I literally once took my teachers up on that. And I was like, yeah, okay, because I got all this stuff to say about this topic. And I was like, blah, 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 and talking about the topic and writing on the board and stuff. And the teacher's just like, what is happening? Like, that's so this is a bonus story, I guess, from Mexico, is me, like, actually ending up in the principal's office constantly because I was interested in the material and wanted to talk more about it. Harvester says, what I've seen so far, Utena is cool, very interesting concept. It has some rough recurring themes, yeah. And I am told it gets extremely wild and or sad, but I endeavor to watch it through since I've got Crunchyroll nowadays. Well, yeah, especially if you're already paying for the service. I don't remember much about it. It's been a very long time since I watched it, but any old anime, right, you have to I would say any anime you have to approach carefully because I think to this day, like a lot of nasty stuff makes it into anime, unfortunately. That if you're, someone who doesn't want to see women get abused or doesn't want to see children get abused or whatever, it's still something that like happens in like otherwise perfectly innocent anime a lot of the time. Um, and it's just like I don't think that that's like a Japanese thing, but it's more like obviously the people who make anime have a certain demographic in mind that they want to sell this to, and sometimes it's kind of gross, right? But definitely old anime, you have to go in, knowing that you might see something that might not be good, right? That might upset you. So it's always good to know that. Um, Gacha Logic says stories about Mexico redemption. Yeah, I think eventually the stories about Kansas are gonna have to turn into like kind of general stories because like I've had a lot of adventures, but eventually I probably will run out of stories from Kansas, and then I've got some stories from Ohio and from Mexico and from California, so lots of stuff to talk about. I have weirdly lived an interesting life, which is weird. I kind of realized that a few years ago. Like when I talk to people about what I've done and the places that I've worked, they're like, oh, wow, that sounds super interesting. And I'm like, it kind of wasn't at the time. But in retrospect, I guess it does seem interesting. So, it's something. Harvester says, lol, I appreciate that. I jokingly asked my partner, do you want to tell the story? When they interrupt me in conversation, playful and all, but it struck me like that. They often take me up on the offer before giving me the floor again. Yeah, I mean, if you, that's the thing, is like it's a risk. If you want to stop someone from doing something and you're like, do you want to do it? They might just take you up on it, and then you're stuck because you just gave them the forum. Horse One Mind says the original Gundam is surprisingly sensitive about a lot of things that it could have messed up on. Turns out, yeah. So I managed to find Genesis Climber Mospeda or Mospeda, which is the is Robotech 3. So if you don't know, Robotech in the United States is actually three different animes that were sort of like strung together and dubbed in a way that they kind of referenced each other, but they don't because they're actually three completely separate animes. The third one, Genesis Climber Mospeda, um, I was trying to find for a long time. I finally found some YouTube stuff and I found it on Prime or on Amazon, and I was gonna buy it. And then like the rights for Robotech have been like reconfigured, so there might be some Robotech um, TV shows or movies that come out, and all of that stuff was just taken down. Like it's all like disappeared. So yeah, it reminded me because I'm like, I was going in thinking like there are certain things I remember about Robotech 3 that I am interested in seeing if they're actually there, if I just as a kid perceive them differently, if they're worst, right? If there's actually worse stuff that goes on. Because yeah, some kids anime has some like hardcore stuff in it. Like Gacha Man is like severe, man. It's like hardcore. So yeah, I mean, I grew up watching Saint Seiya, and there were literally like Saint Seiya made a huge splash in Latin America, and there were parent groups that were like ban Saint Seiya, aka Knights of the Zodiac, um, because it was so violent, and it was violent and bloody definitely for the time, and even not for the time, it's still like if you compare it to modern cartoons, it's still pretty bloody. So yeah, it was. I mean, I get it, but you gotta be careful when you go back, delving into the past. Um, Harvester says I kind of want to rewatch Gundam Wing. I hear that's a good one. I have never seen any Gundams or any Gundam shows, which I know is weird, being like a big fan of Lancer or whatever. But I don't think Lancer is very Gundam-y. Maybe it is. I don't know. Horsepawn Mind says it has some weird pacing because it has to have a fight in every episode, but it's pretty good. I'm about halfway through. That's cool. Harvester says GW was a heavy political. Gundam Wing, um, and the overarching series, I assume. Yeah. So yeah, that's another thing is that you don't like you guys were like somebody said, and I'm sorry, I forgot who exactly it was about it. Red and Blue or Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire being about an actual political thing that happened, right? It's like these all of these shows have come out over the lifetime of a politically active country, right? So you will see some of these themes, and sometimes you might be like, "What the heck is up with this?" But it's something that like really resonates with like Japanese people who were like kids or teenagers or young adults watching this in like the 80s, right? And it's like to them, it's like very obvious what's happening, but to us, all these years later in a different country, it's like, what? Or it just goes over our heads, or we misinterpret it, right? We're just like, oh, this is clearly about this, but it's not. So it's like that's kind of what watching media. What's interesting about watching media and why it's interesting to seek out different voices in sort of media criticism and media analysis, right? Because if you find somebody from Japan who can explain this to you in a paper or a video essay or whatever, it's going to enrich your experience of it. Horsepawn Mind says there's a huge mech presence in modern tabletop RPGs that I think is only one small part Gundam inspired. Yeah, Gundam didn't hit as hard in the US as I would have expected it to. I think Voltron was a big deal back in the day. And then after that, yeah, it's like mech shows make it into the U.S. But as much as we joke around about like, oh yeah, it's like this, it's like Ratatouille is technically a mech anime, or whatever. It's like mech mech shows actually weren't that common. You know, you had like Exo Squad back in the day, like Robotech made it to the United States, or you know Macross and um, it's like Macross, something something Southern Cross, and Genesis Climber all made it into the U.S. as Robotech. Um, but yeah, it just mech stuff kind of didn't take here the way that it has in Japan, right? Um, you know, a lot of people I know have seen Gurren Lagann, but most people haven't. And by the way, if you watch Gurren Lagann on my recommendation, and I still think it's very good, there's two things that you have to know about it. One, it's very cheesecakey. So there's a character who wears a tiny bikini, and wears a tiny bikini for the entirety of the show, and you know things bounce around. Um, and also, there's a character who is implied or very heavily implied to be gay, and he acts kind of weirdly predatory towards a little boy. And it really, a lot of the time, it seems like he's just teasing the boy, like scaring him, like being like, "Oh, I'm gonna blah 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 eat you up" or whatever. Um, but it's weird. It's a little weird. Um, it's a little weird. So you should know a couple of those things going in. However, that character, who is heavily implied to be gay, is also an important character who's very relevant to the entirety of the show. So, you know, you gotta take what you can from it. Media is never perfect. Let's see. I watched a bunch of. Sakura says I watched a bunch of Gundam as a kid, but Oids was the Robo anime that stuck out to me as a kid. Oh yeah, was it? Did you mean to say Zoids, or was Oids a different thing? Because Zoids was a thing too, right? Yep, Zoids. Okay. Horse One Man says, I think mech RPGs are really taking the bare bones of the genre and running with it, tapping into themes around bodies, identity, autonomy, etc. Less genre emulation than a lot of RPGs go for. Yeah, especially now, right? Because there's been a mech warrior RPG forever, right? So if you wanted to play an RPG where like you're actually pulling all the levers and pressing all the buttons, that's what those old games are for, right? It's like modern RPGs that look into mechs. Yeah, they want to say something, they want to try something, they want to create their own histories and mythologies. That's like, again, because you got me talking about it, that's what Lancer does, right? You can see the influence from Gundam, you can see the influence from Mech Warrior, you can see influence from, I don't know, probably even Exo Squad in Lancer. But Lancer's doing its own thing, right? Its mechs function in their own ways and have things that are sort of specific to Lancer mechs and the way that they work. And they have some commonalities, and they have some things that are very different from mech to mech. And that creates these themes that 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 sort of make the game interesting that are not necessarily present in Gundam or Gurren Lagann or whatever. Um, Harvester says it's funny. Gundam Wing and Vision of Escaflowne aired in my country at the same time, and I loved Wing and completely bounced off of Escaflowne. Escaflowne is hardcore. I actually really enjoyed it. Now that I think back on it, I'm like, there are probably a lot of things that would be really cringy about it. But I think that's true of any anime that's like definitely more than 10 years old. Like Escaflowne is like 20, 30 years old maybe. I don't know how old it is, but I know that I watched it in college. Um, so that was at least 1,000 years ago. But there are a lot of things that are really enjoyable with Escaflowne. If you play Exalted, there's a lot of Escaflowne in Exalted. Like there are mechs in Exalted, and really they sort of function like Escaflowne, because in Escaflowne you need like a dragon's heart to power a mech. Spoiler alert. And in Exalted you need a Hearthstone, which is something that's like generated from like ley lines and stuff like that to actually power one. So, you know, it's similar. Soys was fun, yeah. Soys was okay. I didn't watch too much of it, but yeah, it looked cool. Harvey says Gundam lures you in with giant robot space fights sinks political unrest and class struggle hooks into you in the process. Yeah, that's what's best, right? It's like Steven Universe. It's like, oh, here's all these like cool characters and cute songs, but really, this is a series about like forgiveness and about like expressions of masculinity, right? It's like Steven is the only dude of his kind, and how does he choose to present himself? How does he choose to interact with others? And it's always with like kindness and respect, and violence only as an absolute last resource. Even when other characters are like, oh, you can't help this character or monster or whatever, they're a lost cause. Steven still tries and often succeeds. And even if he fails, he's still like, it doesn't make him, it doesn't harden him. It actually makes him try harder, right? So the best cartoons have sort of this like political ideology, and that's actually one of the things that makes them cohesive, right? It's that this like idea is like if their politics are one of their themes, then the things, the events that happen in the story are going to have an internal consistency and make sense together because the writing team is cognizant of these themes that they want to hit. Harvester says, I recently watched the Netflix She-Ra, though, and loved it for similar thematic reasons. Yeah, I bounced off of She-Ra for really no reason, right? I just, like, I watched it, and I'm like, I get what the show's doing. It's cool, but then I was like, eh. I just kind of got a little tired of it. It's hard to say it in such a way that's like, but I still like it. I still think it's a worthwhile show. But I just kind of slowed my watching of it and then stopped my watching of it, and I've never picked it up again. Um, Horse One Mind says I got to get around to Steven Universe one of these days. Yeah, I mean it's all out now, so including basically the series is complete. Plus, there's a movie that happens after the series. Plus, there's like a companion series at the end of it too. So all that stuff is out and available now. I think through Hulu, if you have that streaming service, or I'm sure you can find it online somewhere. Um, Horsepawn Mind says there's a fun GM-less RPG called For the Honor that's inspired by the new She-Ra. That's cool. Harvester says, if the show doesn't say anything, it will have a hard time holding up over time. Not only that, if the show isn't trying to say anything, it'll still say something, and it'll probably be something stupid, right? If you don't have an ideology for what you're creating, then you're still creating it with an ideology. It's just a subconscious ideology, right? And you see that... I haven't watched a lot of RWBY, but I've seen some videos that talk about RWBY, and it's kind of this idea of like the guys who made RWBY love Cowboy Bebop, and there's a lot of Cowboy Bebop moments in RWBY, but they don't make sense because the characters are not like super cool bounty hunters. They're actually something else. They're like going to school to hunt like monsters or something, right? And so it's like this scene that's in both RWBY and Cowboy Bebop makes a lot of sense in Cowboy Bebop because Cowboy Bebop is very deliberate about its themes, right? Magnificently so. And RWBY is not. RWBY doesn't think about its themes very much. So it's like, why is this character doing this now? And it's like, what this says about this character is probably something that you don't want to be said about this character, right? It's something that you don't want us to think, but through their actions, this is what's happening, and it's because there isn't a clear ideology of where the characters are going to go. Harvester says the start of season 1 of She-Ra has a pretty substantial formulaic world-building rhythm to start before you start to know the characters and get better understanding of the stakes. I love that it does. I love what it does with character development and relationships. Oh, that's great. Ad quote. Not only that, but if the show doesn't say anything, it will still end up saying something, and probably something stupid. Okay, that's a good one. Thank you for adding that one. Harvey says never watched Cowboy Bebop. I also dropped off Ruby after like season 3, I think. It was a lot happening. Yeah, from what I've heard, it's not a very satisfying show to watch. Like all the things that you hope and that they seed or that they seem to seed into the show kind of don't pan out. So um, it's a lot of people that I've talked to or that I've heard talk about it like are just very like end up just very unsatisfied with it, right? Which sucks. It sucks for that to happen because it had a big following and it's like a web series, right? It's like a show that was a web series and it's like, yeah, you want those to succeed to kind of create this new world where like web series is like a reasonable contender for like Emmys and shit and stuff. So it yeah, it sucks that it kind of doesn't go anywhere from what I've heard because I haven't watched too much of it. Quote, don't forget to save your games, kids. Rodrigo the Regretful while playing Legends Arceus. Yeah. By the way, you can find videos of me um, not saving my game on our YouTube channel. I don't know if you guys are all over there and are like signed up or whatever. But yeah, if you haven't made it to the YouTube channel, a lot of the stuff that you would otherwise have to watch an entire Giganda's like what 2.5 hour stream so far is already there, right? So there's that. So let's go ahead and start wrapping it up. Let's see. Ruby seems like it was built. Seems like it has built a cast that an 80s/90s show would do to build a merchandise base. Except I don't believe it has extensive toy lines. Yeah, so it's not even that, right? So yeah, let's wrap it up. Thanks for chatting with me. Thanks for playing Pokemon. Thanks for commenting on me making NPC face or whatever. Um, I appreciate you guys, showing up week after week. I wasn't feeling super great today, but I was like, I can do it. I think it'll be okay. And sure enough, once I got going, it was okay. And definitely the company helps that. I don't mean Twitch. I mean you guys keeping me company makes that easy and helpful. So I really appreciate that. Um, so yeah, I will, uh, keep hanging out. It's gonna be good times, and I will catch you guys later.